The day the city learned how fragile power could be began under a harsh, honest sun, the kind that leaves no shadows to hide in. The accident happened at a crowded intersection where glass towers reflected daylight like mirrors, and sirens cut through the afternoon air. A black luxury sedan lay at an awkward angle, its hood crumpled, its perfection broken in seconds. Inside, the woman known for commanding boardrooms and bending markets to her will lay still, eyes closed, breath shallow, her expensive suit creased and dusted with glass. People whispered her name with awe and fear, calling her the CEO who never lost, the woman who never flinched. But in that moment, she flinched inward, choosing silence, choosing stillness, choosing to feign unconsciousness because control had been her shield for too long. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of humanity, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, Thread of Kindness. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. Her name was Alina Voss, and her rise had been swift and ruthless. She had learned early that softness invited damage, that emotions were liabilities. When the impact jolted her body and the world spun, fear surged like a tide she refused to show. She closed her eyes and let the crowd think she was gone from herself, because waking would mean facing the chaos she could not command. She heard murmurs, footsteps, the rattle of a stretcher, the crackle of radios. She heard someone say her company's name with reverence, another voice speak about insurance and blame. She chose to remain still, believing distance would protect her. Then there was a different presence, a weight of concern that felt warmer than the rest. The man was younger than she expected, his face marked by tiredness that came not from age but from responsibility. His name was Rowan Hale, a single father who had been crossing the street with his small son when the collision erupted nearby. He had pushed the stroller back just in time, scraped his knee on the asphalt, and steadied himself with a breath that tasted like metal and dust. While others filmed with their phones, Rowan knelt beside the wreck, not to record but to help, because that was how he lived now, attentive, alert, always ready to protect what mattered. Daylight spilled across the scene, revealing Rowan's calloused hands as he gently adjusted Alina's head, careful not to move her neck. His voice was calm, steady, unafraid of the wealth and status she carried like armor. He spoke as if she were simply another human in need, as if titles dissolved in the presence of pain. Alina heard him without opening her eyes, heard the tremor he tried to hide, heard the way his words carried a softness she had not allowed near her in years. He spoke of staying still, of breathing slowly, of how everything would be okay even if it felt broken now. His tone was not commanding, it was reassuring, born of nights spent soothing a child through fevers and fears. As paramedics approached, Rowan did not step back. He stayed, anchoring the moment with his presence. He talked about the sun overhead, about how help was coming, about how fear could trick the body into freezing. He spoke of his son waiting a few feet away, eyes wide, learning what compassion looked like in real time. Alina felt something crack inside her, not bone or muscle, but certainty. She had built an empire on the idea that people responded to strength, yet here was a man with nothing to gain offering comfort without condition. The world she knew did not account for this kind of power. When the stretcher arrived, Rowan's words continued, soft and unwavering. He spoke of loss without naming it, of learning to show up even when you were exhausted, of how pretending not to feel can be more dangerous than any collision. He said that sometimes staying awake is harder than closing your eyes, but it is also how healing begins. Those words slipped past Alina's defenses and settled somewhere deep, where ambition had long crowded out reflection. She felt the urge to open her eyes, to acknowledge him, but fear held her still. She was not ready to be seen without her armor. At the hospital, daylight filtered through wide windows, washing the corridors in pale gold. Alina was wheeled into a private room, machines humming quietly, professionals efficient and distant. She kept her eyes closed through examinations, through whispered assessments, through the careful notes taken about her condition. The staff treated her with deference, but it felt hollow. She thought of Rowan's voice and how it had cut through the noise with sincerity. The contrast unsettled her more than the accident itself. Hours passed, and with them came the weight of reflection. Alina's mind replayed the intersection, the heat, the sound of glass. She remembered the way Rowan had mentioned his son, the way his concern extended beyond himself without diminishing his strength. She thought of the choices she had made to climb higher, the relationships she had sacrificed, the loneliness she had dismissed as the price of success. In the quiet of the room, the truth pressed close: she had mastered control but forgotten connection. When Alina finally opened her eyes, the room looked different, sharper, more honest. She asked for water, for a moment alone, for time. Later that afternoon, as the sun angled lower and painted long shadows across the floor, she asked a nurse about the man from the accident. The nurse smiled softly and said he had waited until he knew she was stable, then left to pick up his son from school. The simplicity of that answer struck Alina like a revelation. Life continued not in boardrooms but in classrooms, kitchens, and small acts of care. Recovery forced Alina to slow down, a discipline she had never practiced. Physical therapy took place in sunlit rooms where progress came in inches, not leaps. Each step reminded her of vulnerability, of the body's limits, of the kindness of strangers who offered encouragement without expectation. She began to ask questions, to listen, to notice. She learned Rowan's name through a report filed that day, learned that he worked 2 jobs, learned that he volunteered at a community center on weekends. The more she learned, the more she felt compelled to meet him not as a benefactor or an executive, but as a human seeking understanding. They met weeks later in a park flooded with afternoon light, children's laughter weaving through the air. Rowan sat on a bench watching his son chase pigeons, joy uncomplicated and bright. Alina approached without an entourage, without a tailored suit, wearing comfortable clothes and a humility she was still learning to carry. She thanked him in a way that did not feel transactional, acknowledging not just the help he gave but the truth he spoke. She told him the accident had forced her to confront parts of herself she had long ignored. She told him that his words had stayed with her through sleepless nights and painful exercises. Rowan listened, not impressed, not dismissive, simply present. The change did not come all at once. Alina returned to work, but she did so differently. Meetings began with questions about people, not profits. Decisions considered impact alongside outcome. She funded safety programs at intersections across the city, not for publicity but for prevention. She established scholarships for single parents, recognizing the quiet heroism of those who carry double burdens. The board noticed, the market reacted, but Alina focused on the smaller victories: a thank you note, a smile, the relief in someone's eyes when they were seen. Rowan watched from a distance, wary but hopeful. He accepted help when it came without strings, and he offered feedback when asked. Their paths crossed occasionally, always in daylight, always grounded in the ordinary spaces where life unfolded. Alina learned that leadership could be gentle, that strength could listen, that waking up was an act of courage. Rowan learned that people in power could change, that sincerity could ripple outward in unexpected ways. As months turned into a year, the intersection where the accident happened transformed. New signals gleamed under the sun, crosswalks widened, traffic slowed. A small plaque thanked the community for its resilience, unnamed and inclusive. Alina visited often, standing in the warmth, remembering the day she chose stillness and the voice that called her back. She no longer pretended to be invincible. She allowed herself to be human. The story does not end with applause or headlines. It ends in quieter places. A father walking his son home under a bright sky, a CEO taking a breath before making a decision, a city made safer by compassion. It ends with the understanding that kindness is not weakness, that second chances are not rewards but responsibilities, that the most powerful words are often spoken to those who appear unconscious but are listening more deeply than ever. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the goodness that can rise from unexpected moments, please engage with this video by liking, sharing, and leaving your thoughts. Your interaction helps keep these stories alive and reaching those who need them. Before the ending, a special request: please comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter, and they help build this thread of kindness we share together. Under the honest light of day, Alina and Rowan continued forward, changed not by the accident alone but by the choice to wake up, to speak gently, to listen fully. And somewhere between the intersection and the park, between power and patience, a new understanding took root, that even after the hardest collisions, humanity can still find its way home.